Marvel Comics needed to make a change with Amazing Spider-Man. It was basically a dead title, even though it's the marquee flagship title. Zeb Wells wasn't cutting it. John Romita Jr. wasn't cutting it anymore. There was no magic left, if there was any to begin with. So he decided to sort of restart. We're tying it into One World Under Doom. We've got the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, a 10-issue kind of filler event until the actual new writer on Amazing Spider-Man arrives. But we do get ASM 61 this week, Joe Kelly, Ed McGuinness.
It seems like it is really trying to turn a page on Zeb Wells in a really kind of extreme way. Almost everything from the Zeb Wells run is immediately dropped on page 1.
Oh, no, I mean, Shay's still there. Everyone still hates him. That's the weird thing about the book, Doc. The first half of the book, I absolutely loathed. I thought it was just as bad as what Zeb Wells had been doing, but with better art. Then the second half of the book takes a complete 180 turn. I don't know that it's great, but it was so different. It felt really good.
You know what? If I were to just judge this based on the first couple of pages, I fucking hated it.
None of the jokes hit. There's lots of weird stuff going on. And all of a sudden, Randy is now Peter Parker's agent or something like that, but he's still in a relationship with Shay. Aunt May is reminding him, hey, Peter, you might want to get a life someday because you're such an enormous loser. Like, the fact that they've just got him stuck in this spot and nobody ever tries to get him out of it is the biggest rut in comic book history.
It really is, and I'm fucking tired of being stuck in it. It really just kind of kills all the interest in Spider-Man. And it starts out like just screaming, we're not changing shit on that. And that seems just terribly disappointing to all of us that have spent the last few years going, you don't seem to understand how, having setbacks in your life are. Instead, you just make him the pathetic loser that you are. And that's what it seems like we were getting for the first half of this book.
Aunt May gives Peter an envelope with money for an organization called Feast. And then when he deposits the money, there's less than what she gave him.
And it looked like the envelope burned a little bit.
Yes, it was a little on fire.
Some of the cash that they were depositing so that into the Feast's account.
But he still cost homeless people that needed a meal, food. That's not very heroic. That's pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Loser behavior.
Yes.
That's not oh my goodness, Aunt May needs her blood pressure medication right now. And I've got this villain I got to stop. How can I do 2 things at once? This is like costing starving people meals.
That's not heroic in any way, shape, or form. Of course, Peter loses some of the money for fucking orphans because they need to make him the most pathetic excuse for a human being to ever strap on a pair of tights.
Well, and they take it even further because they do get Aunt May, Shay, his new girlfriend, and Randy together, and he owes them all money. He says, I need to go to the bathroom. They're like, yeah, he ain't coming back. Well, he owes you money? He just sneaks out the window like an absolute scumbag. And the girlfriend's like, yeah, I thought he had a GI problem. Turns out I realized he's just full of crap. And they just talk shit about him, about how he owes them all money. He's a complete bum and he can't take care of himself.
The Spider-Man we know, the Peter Parker we know, does not hide in the fucking bathroom to avoid accountability. When Peter Parker screws up, Peter owns those mistakes, even if they are Spider-Man related, and he will make it look even worse on himself so as to hide his identity, not try to make excuses for his failure to live up to whatever obligation he had. This is as bad as when he was sleeping on fucking Mockingbird's couch wearing his ask me about my feminist agenda t-shirt. Do you think that it makes Spider-Man look good for his own girlfriend to talk about how he's full of crap and worthless? That is not the recipe for any sort of relationship, much less a healthy one. Honestly, fuck these people and fuck Nick Lowe for making this book.
So I despised the first half of the book. I thought, wow, this is not getting better.
No.
Wow, they are really stuck on this. Everybody should hate Peter Parker thing. And then we do get this idea. Somebody brings up the Covenant and all of a sudden Dr. Doom arrives and he wants him to be the champion of Earth because we have the Scions of the Sidorak coming and he's going to have to fight. Doom wants him to do it. It seems like a really stupid idea. There are plenty of magic wielders within the Marvel Comics universe. If Doom wanted to subcontract the responsibility of taking out the Scions of Sidorak and give somebody some cheats to go and take them on, why would he choose Spider-Man to be the champion of Earth in a magic wielding contest? It makes no sense, but whatever. You just got to go with it.
Yeah, the only part of that even sort of made sense is him looking at Peter and at Spider-Man as somebody willing to lay down his life to protect innocence. From that perspective, I looked at it as kind of a pragmatic decision on the part of Doom.
The entire world is on the line, according to what he's saying, though.
Exactly.
And he can't wield magic.
Yeah, he picked him for the right motivational reasons. Honestly, he should have gotten Dr. Voodoo and done a story where he like merged Dr. Voodoo and Spider-Man into the same body, and they're like fighting for control. I don't know what they were going for here, but they missed by a fucking mile.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then you get this big, I think it's 4 pages, 2 splash pages, with like Doctor Strange explaining how the Covenant came to be. I'm going to be honest, I'm not really sure.
It seemed like just an excuse to have Doctor Strange show up and monologue. The explanation is borderline nonsensical. Something to do with a pact that he made with Spdier-Man, but Spdier-Man wanted something. And look, the only thing it boils down to is every year, whoever's the Sorcerer Supreme or their champion has to fight Spdier-Man's kids, and that magic costs something. You can always just hand wave it away with, ooh, magic. Magic doesn't need to make sense. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at.
Spider-Man ends up accepting once the first Scion shows up, and he's like, oh my goodness, he's got a gravitational pull. I accept, I'll be the Sorcerer Not Supreme underneath you. And he gives him these 8 reads, which are basically 8 lives, but he's also imbued with magical ability that he should know how to use. And Dr. Doom even specifically tells him, make sure you use this at a distance. I don't want you getting too close to him. That's when business picks up. It gets a lot better at that point.
It really does. I didn't actually mind the all red and gray costume. I thought it was kind of dumb for him to have the cape. You know, he has these weird gauntlets now. And the cool thing was that apparently it's like a magical suit now. So the suit has essentially magic AI. It's able to analyze the opponent and tell you exactly how to beat him. It kind of takes some of the tension out of the just magically knows that he's got a black heart hole. He somehow just magically knows that that's the source of it and exactly how to counteract it because the suit gives him magic AI.
But it doesn't make him smart.
No.
At all, because Dr. Doom specifically said, don't get too close to him. And he decides to run right into the black hole mouth thingy with the gravitational pull and gets sliced into a million pieces. And we see him die the first time.
He gets just shredded down and he talks about how you basically get spaghettified in a black hole. And then he just, because he was holding the reed, immediately LOL respawn.
I don't mind body horror in Spider-Man. I thought Spine Tingling Spider-Man was really, really good. But I don't know that I want a lot of body horror in Spider-Man dying essentially every issue for the next 5 months. That doesn't seem like fun to me. And death should mean something in comic books. Now, we know it doesn't, but this makes it even more laughable at that point because there literally are no stakes.
There is no stakes except for
how gross is it going to be the next time that he dies?
Yeah, and how much... And how painful will it be for Peter when he's getting himself put back together?
It looks good. It's fun to read. You know, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And there aren't a lot of stakes to it. But you didn't have to do much to do better than what Zeb Wells is doing. I think maybe the highlight of the book, maybe the best part is when he's coming back and, like, I guess death is Coulson.
Yeah, they had that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. book that was out around the same time as the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. I literally forgot he was ever in comics, like, at all. He has to fanboy, because apparently that's the only thing that Phil Coulson's good at doing in the Marvel Universe is fanboying over existing superheroes.
Yeah, so he's dead. He gives him the read. He's able to respawn. And then I believe the astral projection of Doctor Strange shows up to give him some pointers at the end as well. Doctor Doom, if he was smart, would have asked Doctor Strange to be his champion.
Yeah, probably, considering that he already performed whatever these tasks are, apparently multiple fucking times. Why not use the guy that's experienced at it? No. Instead, we're going to get a guy that has absolutely no experience whatsoever with magic and then give him magic powers. Yeah, we got kind of a semi-cool new take on Spider-Man, and it was significantly better than what they were doing in the first half of this book. But it didn't get good at any point.
I think this is a stark improvement over what Zeb Wells is doing. And I do think the first half of the book was so bad, it does make the second half of the book, despite being nonsensical, feel a whole lot better than it probably really is.
Yeah, it felt a lot better than it had any right to be viewed as. After the Zeb Wells run, and that being kind of a complete and utter waste of all of our times for, well, like 4 years. Yeah, I'll definitely take this. It's an improvement. So sure.
I give it like a I don't know, like a 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Not a great book. Nothing I'm going to recommend, but if you like ASM and you don't want to be bored and thrown off, skip to the second half of the book. I think it'd be fine. I'm
going to give it a 3-star, 3 out of 5. It's very, very mediocre. After the Zeb Wells run, it is definitely a new approach. It's a better story. It is putting Peter in a completely new paradigm. Kind of has some shades of Spider-Man being imbued with the Captain Universe power from back in the late 80s, early 90s. It has some little bits of feel of that, which, for those that were reading back then, it seemed like a big change in status quo. A Spider-Man that can fly? What the fuck? And now we get a magic Spider-Man. I hated the idea initially. It grew on me. Then they tacked Justine Ireland on it, and I hated it again. And then the first issue comes out, the first half of it, I'm like, okay, when are you going to get around to the magic stuff? But by the second half of it, I'm like, oh, this is actually not bad. The problem is, I think the next 2 issues are being primarily written by Justine Ireland, or was that parts 3 and 4? I can't remember if it was 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. In which case, I mean, any goodwill from the first issue will be lost in the second issue. Skip it and come back when Joe Casey's there. If not,
Joe Kelly.
Joe Kelly. If he's still credited as the lead writer, I'd say pick up the next issue. It's worth a shot.
Can't get worse than Zeb Wells. I do want to say thank you very much to Doc for joining me talking about ASM 61. A mixed bag, certainly, but a stark improvement over what we had before. If you like what we're doing here on Think Critical YouTube and you're a big fan of Doc and you would like to support us here, you do need to go to Think Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description. We've got Doc Unfiltered. We'll have this entire review uncensored, our entire conversation about the news yesterday, fully uncensored, a 2.5 hour, 3 hour Q&A every single week. Lots of fun going on Think Critical Patreon. You also get a superhero name, you get a place to protect, and you get to be a part of the family. I hope to see you there very, very soon.